We live in a time when innovation and creativity are the path to autonomy, success, and unlimited potential. But our education system is trapped in the industrial age. We are still being fed the story that job security equals freedom. For many of us, that just isn't good enough. Every week, I'm bringing you the stories and experiences of entrepreneurs who don't accept the narrative that there is only one path to success. Their entrepreneurial journey is allowing them the freedom to prioritize both their businesses and their families. They are intentionally building a legacy to lead their family into a new era of innovation and growth. This is Our Modern Heritage Legacy Secrets, and I'm your host, Jody Chafee. All right, I want to welcome to the show Caterina Falco. She is the founder of Return to the Table, and she is all about sharing good food together in one of the easiest opportunities that we have every day to connect with our children. And sadly, she sees that the family dinner time tradition is a lost art. She has been a certified financial planner for 27 years, and she's dealt with family legacy in the form of money. And now she's committed to helping families create a legacy that is more valuable than money, truly being connected. Caterina has a book coming out soon that was inspired by 30 years in the kitchen and at the table every night, 16 years cooking for her family, and also by the stress and problems that she sees American families struggle with around dinner time. Hectic schedules, convenience foods, and personal devices are all affecting how we connect today. And Caterina has a French and Italian background, and she brings the European style of eating into what she does. So welcome, Caterina.
Thank you. It's so nice to talk with you today, Jody.
So glad you could be here. So tell us a little bit more about your business.
Well, Return to the Table has been a dream for 30 years. I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but as I realized recently, I've needed these 30 years to be ready to share Return to the Table. And it's been my experience, as you mentioned, as a financial planner, and having that time at the table cooking all these years and really enjoying eating myself and learning how to eat when I lived in Paris 30 years ago. And then spending 16 years cooking for kids and dealing with picky eaters. I have one. I don't know where he came from, but I have one. So I know the pain of that. And the family schedules that we have, kids and activities and our work, because I've always been a working mom. So that all together has given me the insight and the skill and a lot of secrets, I like to call them, to finally create Return to the Table, which is what my commitment, as you said, is now, to help families get through the struggles that they have, because really it's so simple. Just the idea, every time I mention it to people, they say, well, absolutely, you're right. Sitting down to eat is one of the most powerful things we can do every single day. Well, let me put it this way. It's one of the most powerful things we can do, but it's the easiest opportunity that we have every day to connect with our families, because we have to eat, right? And it's a lost art. I say that because there is an art to eating and an art to conversation, and it's a lost tradition, maybe a better way to say it, because I don't see families doing it like we used to. And we'll talk about convenience foods in a moment. That doesn't help. And of course, our devices that we're all plugged into. So these three things are really causing a disconnect. And it saddened me for the past 10 years. I see different families as a mom and different things in the community. And it's really inspired me to bring what my little superpower is to help people, because it's not as complicated as they think.
Yeah. So I agree with you. Like, I've noticed that it's harder to prioritize that family time, even though it's something that it can be really simple. But then even when we do sit down, we're distracted, or we're worried, or we're fighting over different aspects of life. Or, I know, like with my picky eaters, where like I'm just fighting over them to just eat. And that can be really discouraging as moms with young children going, I'm fed up. I try to feed my kids, and they whine about it the whole time, and then nobody has a good time, and we all just end up feeling discouraged and frustrated. So I can see that this is a very powerful mission to I think it is like an art because, even when I go out to dinner with my family and I see other families, everybody has a device or things, and how they're not taking that opportunity to connect and have conversations. So that's awesome. That's really, really awesome that you're doing that. So tell me more about why you were inspired by your family to start a business and make this returning to the table as part of your family culture.
Yes. So my family is tremendous. They support me. I've had a lot of doubt and downtime over. I mean, this is not being an entrepreneur is one of the most rewarding, fabulous things, but nobody will tell you that it's easy. And at my stage in life, my children are getting older. Been in business for a long time. I don't need another job, and so I laugh about that because I'm really doing this. It's been a burning in my heart for 30 years to do something around food. I've always had this connection to the French culture. I have Italian background, but I lived in France. My husband's from France and we spent a lot of time there. So I was identified with that a little bit stronger. And I've had this burning connection, something in me for 30 years. But it's been this past 10 to 13 years that I always say I've been haunted by what now Return to the Table is. And it's because I've seen so many families struggle, and we all have our struggles. We're not all good at everything. This just is the one thing that I'm really, well, maybe I'm good at other things, but I'm really good at this, getting dinner on the table and getting everybody engaged, and it's fabulous food. And I realized I've created a system. There's a reason I'm able to do that. And over the past 10 years with other families coming through and other children, that moms will say, how do you do that? My kids tell me it's like this at your house, or they ate that. I can't get them to eat anything. Or they said, do you really sit at your table for 45 minutes? I don't want to tell them it's actually longer than that sometimes. That's on our busy nights. And I say, yes. And I start offering some tips. And so that has been my inspiration, is that I've seen the transformation. I've seen people reconnect and connect on a deeper level. So I've seen people that are families that are fine, but they started implementing a few changes and they realized they could connect even deeper. And I've had a few people tell me their marriages gotten stronger. They've felt better in their marriage because when you take the stress out of dinner time, but you also, it's not just that, you're connecting, right? We feel good when we connect. And you have a moment to rest. And people look at me cross-eyed all the time, say, how do you equate resting to dinner time? Lady, we need to talk. Because when it's done that way, when you can get good food to the table and it's not stressful and you have that time, it is wonderful to sit down and eat good food. But we tend to do it on holidays or special events. And I want to show people how to do this every day, because it's not just connecting with your kids. It can strengthen your marriage. It can improve your health. It can reduce your stress and allow you to have a little more fun in your life. So that the people that I have met and that I haven't even met yet are my inspiration. I just know in my heart I was called to do this, and my family has supported me, thankfully, because it's been a crazy, wild ride, and I've been a little bit crazy sometimes.
So how has your children been benefited by the things that you've been learning and implementing?
So this has always been a challenge. This is a challenging question for me because I've struggled in different ways. In other words, I have done this my whole life. So I didn't have that big epiphany moment where it wasn't happening. We started doing it, and it changed. I cooked for myself when I was single, and then I cooked for my friends, and then I cooked for my husband, and then I cooked for my kids. What happened when I had children is it got really hard right up until then. And I learned how to cook, and I burnt things, even including an actual cookbook on the stove once. So I taught myself to cook. But when my children were little, I was making their baby food and doing all this stuff, Martha Stewart, right? And then they got older and they started eating more. And my husband said, why are you stressed? Like, you're never like this. You just seem busier and stressed. Are the kids in too many activities? First thing he asked me. And I said, no. But you know what? They're bigger And what I used to make and put in the freezer lasted a month if I made some muffins or some lasagna, you know, it lasts for a couple meals. Now it's gone in a week, or it's only one dinner, and I can't keep up. And that, I think, you know, when I mentioned convenience foods and kind of skipping dinner or eating on the fly, it's most people that I talk to don't want that. They don't want that to be their solution, but they don't have another choice, right? We're too busy, and we're defaulting to that. And I see how easily it is to do, because I was staying up late, stressed, tired to cook. And most people I know say, forget that. I'm not going to do this. But I always knew how important it was. And I come from that European background where we sit at these big tables, and the food is you know, it's coveted. I tease, I say, it's my religion to sit down. It's like going to church. I have to be at the table every night. So I started shifting the way I was cooking, and I made it. My husband is the fastest cook in the world, and he's a good one. So I started making things faster. He actually inspired me a lot. He said, it's not going to taste good if we do it that way. And it did. And then I started getting really creative on where I was getting my food, stocking it. So there's a part of return to the table, which is called stock it and prep it and roll it. And those are my little programs or systems of how do you get really good food? Have a farm deliver your meat. I have a French chef that I like who makes certain things for me, and I have a freezer for it. And I have, you know, things that we make once or twice a week. I don't really do much cooking. I'd like to do more, but I'm still incredibly busy. So we make a couple things, get the family involved, have your kids help you make a soup, and you stock that. And meal prep, my term for meal prep is a little different than the connotation of meal prep today, but something as simple as a melon and prosciutto, or tomato and mozzarella salad. We eat a lot of foods like that in Europe, and it's so good. And there's really no cooking to it. It's just good, fresh ingredients. So having those special ingredients stocked and having some go-to ideas on, really, it doesn't have to be complicated. So I started figuring out all these pieces so I could still get good food on the table, but manage my time. And I was actually quite stressed then. So that was, I can't remember actually the beginning of the question, but it was about how I saw my family change. And it was I that changed my system. And then I figured out how to do this, and those are the types of things I've shared with families all these years. And, you know, if you run out to pick up carry out, or you're stopping, this is one common thing I hear. Oh, I have to figure out what's for dinner, so I'm going to go run and get something, or stop and pick this up, or carry out, or we're going to go out to eat. That actually takes more time than just preparing something really simple, like a pasta with fresh basil and Parmesan cheese. Is really, I mean, it takes the time to boil the pasta, and you combine it with a salad and a little fruit for dessert, or a piece of chocolate. Fighting traffic to go pick up carry out for 15 minutes to me seems like a lot more effort, and the food's not as good, and it's more expensive. So
right. I love that. I love that that you were able to problem solve and find ways that worked so that you could balance those things for your family and for your time, you know, and you discovered all of these systems for creating dinner time as an opportunity to connect and be together. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. And so what would you say is the legacy that you're trying to build for your family, and as you grow this business, or as you implement these principles of the importance of returning to the table?
Well, I just got chills when you said the word legacy, because that's where my heart is. So it's clear to me that when we share good food, it allows us to connect. And I advocate that we need to spend a little more time at the table, because the average American dinner, the last time I checked, is 12, maybe it's 15 minutes. And I always say the magic happens after 20. So shoot for 30, 45 is ideal, and an hour is fabulous, which scares people when I say that. But when you get to know return to the table, there's also, I talk about how to help with homework and make really good use of that time also. That takes, you know, a little bit of our workload or stress off for the evening. But going back to your question on the legacy, when we when we eat good food, we're happy. We're not only physically satiated, but mentally. And there's a chemical reaction that occurs in our brain when we eat really good food. I mean, it's just really satisfying, right? Not just something to eat, but really good food. And that creates a body memory. And if we're sharing that food and that experience with people we love, those bonds are naturally deepened, right? We form these connections. And the reason I say 20 minutes is where the magic happens. Imagine eating something really good and feeling safe and comfortable, because that's how our children feel when they're cared for and nourished with food like this at the table. And we get through all the minutia conversation, though. What happened at school, your science project, who's picking up the dry cleaning. And when you're done with all of that, because there's nothing else to talk about on the superficial level, and you're still feeling good because you're just about to have your little dessert, which I'm a huge fan of. I think it has to be included in every meal. Imagine just having fresh cherries or some nuts or even a piece of little chocolate after 20 minutes, and you're happy. You don't want to rush away from the table, and you think of something else to talk about, or the science project conversation went to a deeper level because you can make a reference to it. You can ask a thought-provoking question. Well, why do you think that happens to the moon? And children love stories. They love to, this is an opportunity for their cognitive thinking skills and how to think skills to come out, right? So that is a legacy in your family. When you have these connections, those bonds last forever. You just have this like an invisible string that's connected to your parents. And one could argue we have that with our children all the time, but you have to make them really strong connections. And food, doing this every single day, gives us that opportunity. And I interviewed my own children about 7 months ago when I was in the dark, deep hole of writing a book. Anybody that's done that knows it's not as easy as you think. And I'm still finding my way out of the end here. It's almost done. So it's on a third revision, but I think I've got it now. But I asked them why. I doubted, should I even be doing this? Do you think this is important? Does this mean something to you? And what would you think if I gave you your favorite meal? What would that be? I don't let my kids get carry out pizza. So I think that I said, what if I gave you like a carry out pizza and some ice cream or something? Your dream junk food dinner, to my big eater son. And he said, and I just left it there on the table and said, here's your plate, here's your food. I have to go back to my office, but here's your dinner. He said, I would be so sad. I said, why would you sad? He said, well, there wouldn't be anybody to talk to. He said, I'd even rather have my sister there, and they fight, kids. I'd rather have my sister there. But this was a real, my kids plan on coming to the table. They count on it. And he said, but that's the time that we have to talk. He said, Mom, you're so busy. If we didn't sit down, when would we really talk? And I have a habit, a risk of being a workaholic. And I know that if I didn't have this time carved out with my family every day, I wonder what my family would look like. Yeah. So that's the basic, the legacy is staying connected and teaching them. I mean, there's life skills that go along with this. There is the sense of community when they all have a little job to help me, because, I'm winging it every day. I'm a busy mom. I never want anybody to look at me and think, oh, she just has all this time to make dinner and it's all, roses over here. It's not hard, but I'm winging it. I'm under the gun a lot, and I count on my family to help me. So they have that sense of community and sense of working together and responsibility. And there's values that come into that, because that's the core. We sit down, we take care of each other, and we don't deviate from that. So that is the richest family legacy. And the connections. My husband is 56 years old and has not missed. He's been in the States 20 years. We've spent every vacation, all his vacation time is spent going home to see his parents. His dad passed a few years ago, but he would never think of not going home to see his parents, because they're just that tight. So that's the legacy that that we are creating.
That's so beautiful. I love that. The connection and then that it's a long term. You want your kids to keep returning to the table, to be with you, to have that quality time, to enrich their lives. And there's so much more value than just stick something in front of them and say, okay, enjoy. See ya, I gotta go. So that's so crucial. It's so crucial. Thank you for sharing that. I really loved your explanation of the importance and how vital it is to keep coming and returning to the table, be together as a family. And that's definitely something that I just did a little thing about our family together communication systems and how that creates solidarity and that unity. And I think that being together to sit down to a quality meal is definitely one of those things that creates that opportunity. So thank you. So where can we find you and more about Return to the Table?
Well, Return to the Table is on Facebook. Never thought I would say that. I just started using social media later in my life, but I'm thrilled to have these outlets today to be able to connect people and share information. So I welcome anybody to join my Facebook group also, which we're creating community there. The Facebook page just keeps announcements and the theme of what Return to the Table is about, but the essence and everything that Return to the Table is, the work, if you will, how to get started, how to make it happen, how to get over all the obstacles, all of that happens in the Facebook group. It's a cozy little delicious place, I like to say, for people to be. And my goal is to inspire on a motivational level, on a problem solving level. So write to me, what's in your way? What is that obstacle that you can't get past that's keeping you from having success doing this? And then of course, sharing the food. How do you get the food on the table? How do you get your kitchen prepared? Meaning you have it stocked. What are some easy recipes? And that's that lights me up. I have, every time I get a question from somebody, and I've been doing little videos lately to answer them, because I can talk. So, give them a good 5-minute video with some actionable steps. And that's just where my heart lights up. So I invite anybody to come, and if any of this resonates with you and you want inspiration and help to solve some of these modern day problems that we have, come visit me in the Facebook group. And if you're hanging out there, also on Instagram, and if you're hanging out there, then you'll know when my book comes out. And I do have a 5 steps to get started guide, which may help. And you can find all of that pretty much everywhere in Instagram or Facebook, right? It's all linked up.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Caterina. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I love the work that you're doing. We are so aligned. So it's a good thing.
Thank you so much for listening, but I have to tell you that this is just the beginning. There is more to this episode inside of my Facebook group. I hope that you'll go and request to join that community because it's awesome. There's more podcast content that's exclusive to the group. There's also giveaways, live Q&As, and you can come and ask questions and take part in this awesome community. So please come and request to join at facebook.com/groups/familyculture-strategies. You can also find my page on Facebook at facebook.com/familyculturepodcast. And I'm at Instagram in the same handle, Family Culture Podcast. So I hope you'll come and follow me there and join in this movement to create an intentional family culture around being entrepreneurial and integrating and prioritizing your family as you grow your business. So come and join me there, and I hope to see you there. You can also come find my website at ourmodernheritage.com. Thank you so much. And remember that if you want to change the world, go home and love your family.